Welcome to the MSP Corner podcast, led by our CEO, Fernando Leon, and co-founder and CEO of our MSSP, Gregory Morowitz. Each week, the MSP Corner is committed to delivering critical information for the IT service firm industry. We will discuss proven strategies for marketing, attracting an audience, how to become the influencer for an industry, selling value, scaling your IT service business, and building a sustainable IT service firm.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. This is podcast show number 5. I am joined by my co-host, Gregory Morowitz. Today's topic is going to be on the MSSA Every MSP needs to have in place. MSSA is Managed Security Service Agreements, which can also be a managed service agreement, right? You can just make adjustments to the template that we provide for you on the MSP Corner. But before we start, I want to give everybody a quick summary on the MSP Corner. Our main objective is to help CEOs build profitable and self-sustainable IT service firms. We are not, our goal is not to just provide tools for IT firms. We want to be sitting in meetings with you to ensure your IT firm is on track with selling value and implementing marketing strategies that will drive traffic to your site. We will have framework on how to sell value. Many IT firms are stuck selling technology or IT tech support services. We will provide you with the blueprint so you position your firm as an add value to your prospects. 90+% of businesses rely on antiquated marketing methods. The most popular choice is relying on word of mouth. We have proven methods on how to attract the ideal prospect. Our framework will include how to become the online authority and be the business influencer for an industry. Many IT firms, one of the other is resources, right? Many IT firms walk away from opportunities because they lack the bandwidth or skill set to scale. And we've lined up many resources so our members can hire on-demand firms that will allow them to scale their IT business. And in order to deliver value, you need the right tech stack. Our platform will offer information on products that are the ideal choice for MSPs. And the last topic is templates. Templates are a critical component when building an MSP. We will have contracts, proposals, statements of work, collateral, and much more in the template section. You will have every document you need to start up your managed IT service business. So that's our main goal at the MSP Corner. So let's kick this next show off. And today we're going to be talking about contracts, what every MSP needs to have in place, because it's a critical component. If you want to have a successful MSP, you need to have a solid contract that not only protects you, but protects the clients. But let's get into it now, because there's 3 sections we want to touch on, and every MSSA or every MSA needs to have these 3 sections. An SOW. What does the SOW do? The SOW provides deliverables, right? It tells the client, hey, this is what we're going to be delivering. This is what the support we're going to provide, or products, right? Because if you properly qualify a business when they want your managed IT services, you should always bundle in products. What is the product? Well, you can offer Office 365. You can bundle in backup. You can bundle in security. You can bundle in email, right? I mean, there's so many products and services that you can bundle in that will be detailed in the statement of work, the SOW. Now, why is this important? Well, there's no question on what you're going to be providing, right? The client can't come back to you and say, hey, why aren't you upgrading my Cisco switches, right? Well, that's not, upgrades are not part of your support package, right? So to expand on what's not included, like I mentioned, was projects, right? Upgrades, like I was mentioning, my Cisco firewall needs to be upgraded. Well, that's not included in a service agreement. This is a support and service agreement, not a all you can eat, all consumption is included at a fixed cost. Do not mistake that. A lot of you IT firms that are stuck on break fix or the hourly rate type of model, you need to get fully educated on what an MSP does or an MSSP does. Because when you have a solid agreement in place that tells the client, these are the deliverables and this is what's not included, you are heavily protected. And every lawyer will tell you, if you buy our MSP agreement, you the attorney won't have to make many changes to this agreement. They will have to address laws that apply to your organization in that specific state. But this thing is so solid. You just have to clearly define the deliverables, the parameters, the business hour support you're going to offer. So, or if it's 24/7. So the SOW is a critical section in this agreement. Gregory, did you want to touch on anything? Did I leave anything out? Did you want to expand on that SOW or any questions you might want to address?
No, you're doing fine.
Okay. So part of the SOW, there's one more section that I forgot to include is the line items you will illustrate on one of the pages, right? Like what is help desk support going to cost you, right? How many employees are you going to support? What's the cost per user, et cetera, et cetera. Plus, you want to include a line item for each product you're going to provide. So there's no question. There's no gray area. There's no question as to what you're delivering. So keep that in mind that when you provide your clients with this SOW, the SOW section, you want to provide a section that clearly defines the support package and what everything costs. Now, the next section is the service level agreement, which I commonly refer to as the SLA. This is the value. This is what differentiates you from other MSPs. This will help you win more opportunities because clients want to know. They want to see it in writing that you are going to respond within a certain amount of time. Doesn't mean don't confuse the two R's, response and resolution. Those are two very different words, and as you know, but response time is critical to businesses. They want to know that you are committed to a response time. If they have a problem, you are committed. There's no guesswork on, oh, Tom's going to call me by tomorrow. No, you're going to be committed to responding to alerts within 20 minutes, an hour, or 2 hours, or 4 hours. Whatever you choose, you got to clearly define what that SLA is going to be. Now, one of the things that many MSP agreements fail to illustrate is the credit. You want to state that you're going to meet a certain percentage of your SLAs every month. And if you do not, then hey, you're going to provide your clients with a credit. They like to see that. They like to see accountability. Okay. You guys want to illustrate that you are accountable. And our agreement clearly spells that out. And that's so important that you guys include that. The third section, which is the master service agreement, is very important because it clearly spells out several areas, such as your terms. Like, okay, what is it? Are you net 10, net 15, net 30, right? You want to clearly spell that out so your clients have a clear understanding as to when they have to pay you by. So that MSA or MSA section is critical to illustrating when your clients need to when they need to pay you. Now, the other section that you guys need to clearly spell out is the terms of the agreement. Is this for 1 year? Is this for 2 years? Is this 3 years? I'm going to encourage you that you tie them in for at least 3 years, right? I mean, at least 1 year, but get them to give them incentive if they're going to sign up for 3 years, right? 3 years, you get a discount if they sign up for 3 years. Now, one important section that we include in our agreements and all agreements is an early termination fee. If they decide to cancel their agreement within, if they don't meet the minimum requirements, they get an early termination fee, and we charge 6 months, right? It's like 6 months of work for not doing anything. So your client will hesitate on canceling that agreement when you have a early termination fee. So keep that in mind, because that is a very important section that you need to include in your agreement. Next one is a security recommendation clause. And what that does is it includes a paragraph that protects you, right? Because you're going to make recommendations if they don't have a firewall, or if they don't have EDR, or if they need to be compliant. If they do not want to follow your recommendations, I would be very diligent with your documentation. If you send them an email on, hey, you're a medical officer, you need to be HIPAA compliant, this is what we need to implement, and they respond with no, save that email, because you're going to want to reference that later on. Because if you have a clause that protects you from that, if your clients don't want to take your guidance on securing their network, they need to sign off on it, right? They need to get cybersecurity insurance, and so they're protected. So keep that section in mind. That is something that is so critical to your organization. So one other area is the no fault clause, right? Sometimes clients they have deadlines on projects. And what I mean by a no fault clause is if you are obligated to finish a project by a certain date, and you're on the last day to get it complete, and you're like 5 hours from completing it, and it's like noon, and the power goes out, hey, that is not your fault. So you need to include a clause that protects you from, it's a no fault clause, right? So you can't complete the project, so it's not like the client's going to be upset. I'm sure most clients are understanding, but just in case they're not, you need a no fault clause, because we've been doing this for 2 decades. Sometimes things don't go your way. So always think ahead and protect your organization from, any type of, just protecting your organization is always going to be a good thing. Greg, do you think I missed anything in the contract section? Because there's so many areas that we have a lot of language in our agreements, but I pretty much hit on the hot topics that need to be discussed, because all the other is just so boilerplate and boring that it's like I see most sections covered in other agreements, but the sections that I mentioned, they just, I don't see them a lot of times in a lot of agreements. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, you're right. And your advice to get somebody to look at it from a legal perspective for their area is also key, because laws change. Sometimes you can have no compete, sometimes you can't, and so on and so forth. So yeah, having your contract reviewed lightly by someone is the best way to go.
So, you deal with our attorneys quite a bit, and you've seen our agreement. What feedback, or which section do you see attorneys mainly concerned about? Is it just the section where they're talking about the laws of the state, and like what specifically would they be addressing in that area?
Yeah, our attorneys don't like when we say things in our contracts that we're thinking, right? If we're like, well, a customer shouldn't hold us responsible for X, and we write that into our contracts that we're not responsible for X, he may think that that's not the right way to phrase it. He may think that's not true. He may also think that if we don't say it and it's not in our insurance, then somehow we're going to be responsible for it, and our insurance won't cover it. That kind of thing. So having it align with your insurance, don't not having it say what you want it to say, having it say what it's supposed to say based on legal terms is critical, because I know a lot of the times you and I will write down, we'll get burned in a certain way, right? We'll get burned by a customer who sends us a written notice and gets like a 5-day out or something, and then doesn't want to pay their 30-day clause. And then we wrote, look, you have a 30-day clause, you have to pay with 30 days. But they're like, no, in the state of Missouri, you could just send a letter and then you get your 5-day, you can quit any contract within 5 days or whatever. And we're like, what? How does that work? I mean, we're completely at a loss as to what we write down and what we expect versus what's legally true.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Yeah, that's definitely an area that an attorney in their state needs to address. But how about this? We're dealing with organizations in other states. Because we're an organization that is national, do we need to, let's say, let's reference, let's discuss, there's an MSP out there that is in Texas, and they have a client that hires them, and they're in Illinois. Do they need to have an Illinois lawyer look at their agreement?
No, because the legal agreement is going to tell you from what jurisdiction that it's been written in. So if it's the jurisdiction is, and if it's you know under the clause of Texas, it's going to say that in the contract. So when you sign the contract, you're kind of saying, I agree that we're going to be bound by the laws of Texas in this agreement. But I've seen it where lawyers have changed the jurisdictional location of the contract to be more to be less strict and more pro customer than it is pro business. So yeah, you got to be careful. These things are make or break in some scenarios where you think you can sue somebody and you find out that they changed it to be the laws of Florida, where you can't sue anybody unless you go through some sort of mediation process first. Then you're stuck with a mediation, and so on and so forth. And the legal contract isn't something we should really know a lot about. It's something that we should have an attorney review and look over. But we can give them what we want and what our insurance supports,
Yep.
and they can go from there.
Awesome. That's good. That's great. That's good to know. Yeah, we if every MSP that even if they don't buy our MSP template, and they get it from another resource, they should always have an attorney review it. Now, but do you feel attorneys are a good soundboard for, hey, we're going to be providing tech support, and what do you think we should put in here? Would you ask them to write you an agreement from scratch, or would you want them to review something that's already been created by an MSP?
Yeah, that's a great question. If you have an attorney that doesn't specialize in contract law, they're going to be able to look at it and just give you a bill and be able to tell you that, yeah, this is legal. This will hold up in a court. That's all they're really going to be able to tell you. If you go with a attorney that knows contract law, that knows the state that they're in, they're going to want to probably do a boilerplate contract for you that they've already written, and so they can charge you more for that. So and that could cost upwards of $3,000 to $4,000. So you could go with a template where you're like, is this legal? And ask an attorney, is this legal? And he'll say yes or no, or he'll tell you which parts are and which parts aren't, and probably have you remove the parts that aren't. But yeah, it's a hard call because a contracts attorney is going to want to charge you roughly $5,000 to $6,000 to write up his own agreement. And so you would just want to use a template and get somebody to review it for legal, is it legal? But usually it's not a contract attorney, it's just a regular attorney who's familiar with contracts and torts and all that stuff, and can look at it and say, yeah, this is going to be, if someone signs this, it can be enforceable in your state.
Yeah.
Which is not really great, but it's better than spending $6,000 to have someone rewrite it.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think that there's resources out there that can give you a quality contract, and then you can customize it to model. But yeah, definitely have an attorney review it so you're protected. The MSP is all the risk is on the MSP, to be honest with you, because they're responsible for your network. They got to keep it secure. They got to keep it backed up. They got to keep it operating, right? You're doing all the work. So get an agreement that protects you, and that is also clearly defines what those deliverables are, because those deliverables are going to make or break you. So, all right. Anything else you want to touch on?
No, you did a good job.
All right. Well, I appreciate everybody who tunes in, downloads our podcasts. I appreciate you listening, but don't forget to sign up to be a member on the MSP Corner. You can easily sign up at www.mspcorner.com. And thanks for joining, Gregory. Good night, everybody.
Thanks for listening. If you have not joined the MSP Corner, go to mspcorner.com.